السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How are you, Ibrāhīm?
الحمد لله يا شيخنا.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. Today, bismillah, we'll continue our book Al-Adab Al-Mufrad by Al-Imām Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ismāīl Al-Bukhāri rahimahullah. As we have repeatedly mentioned, Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri has compiled this book solely regarding the matters of Al-Adab. Solely regarding the matters of Al-Adab, manners and dealings. And that's why it is called Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, a book specifically compiled on the matters of Al-Adab. And we are on Hadith number 138. We read the last Hadith number 138 in the last class. And it occurs under the chapter heading, Babun Kun lil yatim kal Abdur-Raūf. Kun lil yatim kal Abdur-Raūf. Be the kind, compassionate father to an orphan. The way the kind and compassionate father will treat his child, you be like that to an orphan. What are the reports that have been mentioned in the books of Hadith regarding being that kind of a father to an orphan? And we mentioned the affair that Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri has reported from his Shaykh Amr ibn Abbas Abu Uthman Al-Basri rahimahullah, with that isnad coming to the eminent companion of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza. Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza was a great scholar amongst the companions. Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza, and he was amongst, even though he was young when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam passed away, he grew up and became one of the scholars of recitation of the Quran amongst the companions, and for those who came after them, people like Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza taught the Quran. Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza, he said, Qala Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam said, Kun lil yatimi kal Abdur-Rahim. You should be to the yatim. We have repeatedly mentioned that al-yatim is someone who, a child, someone below maturity who loses his father or her father. If a person who is below the age of maturity loses his father or her father, such a person in Islam is referred to as what? Yatim. And we had mentioned a lot of virtues about taking care of al-yatim. So the question could have been asked, as we mentioned in the last class, how do I behave to the yatim? What is the basic rule about relating with a yatim? So that's why Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri brought this chapter heading, Kun lil yatim kal Abdur-Raūf. You should be to the yatim the way a compassionate father is to his son, the way a compassionate father is to his daughter, the father who is compassionate, who is merciful, who is kind to his son or to his daughter, the way that kind father will relate with his children, that is the way you should relate with a yatim. And that affair is the affair of Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza, who said that it was reported from Dawood that Kun lil yatim kal Abdur-Raūf. This is from great wisdom from the household of Nabi Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. Kun lil yatim, be the compassionate father, the father who will be compassionate with his children. You should be that kind of a father to al-yatim. And then it says, وَعْلَمُوا أَنَّكَ كَمَا تَزْرَعُ كَذَلِكَ تَحْصُدُ. And you should recognize the fact that كَمَا تَزْرَعُ, The way you sow, كَذَلِكَ تَحْصُدُ. That is the way you shall reap. And then he said, مَا أَقْبَحَ الْفَقْرَ بَعْدَ الْغِنَى. How distasteful, how hateful is it that a person becomes fakir after he had been rich. A person had been rich, and then Allah returns him to fakr. May Allah protect each and every one of us. Everybody knows this is something the mind hates. It is so hateful. But there is something worse than that. So that's why it was said in this statement of wisdom from Abdur-Rahman ibn Abza, that وَأَكْثَرُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. More than that. Worse in its case than that. أَوْ أَقْبَحُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. More hateful to the mind than that is that الضَّلَالَةُ بَعْدَ الْهُدَى. After a person had been upon guidance, after a person had been upon istiqamah, he had avoided everything he knew Allah prohibits. He would not cheat, he would not tell a lie, he will observe his salah, he will pay his zakah, he will fast, he will go for hajj, go for umrah, he will perform good deeds, he speaks to people with kindness. Then he turns and then begins to do the opposite of these things. This is worse than a person's being upon richness and then returning to poverty. May Allah protect each and every one of us. Then he advised that وَإِذَا وَعَدْتَ صَحِبَكَ فَأَنْجِزْ لَهُ. If you promise your friend, if you promise your companion, you give a promise, فَأَنْجِزْ لَهُ. Fulfill the promises to him, مَا وَعَدْتَهُ. Just as you have promised him. Promise someone, I will do this, I will come here, I will do that, I will say this, I will fulfill it to him. Then he says, فَإِلَّا تَفْعَلُوا يُرِثُ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةً. If you don't do so, that will bring about, it will nurture between the two of you some sort of an enmity. وَتَعَوَّذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ صَاحِبٍ إِنْ ذَكَرْتَ لَمْ يُعِنْكَ وَإِنْ نَسِيتَ لَمْ يُذَكِّرْكَ. تَعَوَّذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ صَاحِبٍ. He advised also that we should ask for Allah's refuge, min sahibin, against a kind of a colleague, against a kind of a companion. In zakarta lam yu'inka, if you are conscious, lam yu'inka, he will not encourage you upon consciousness. You want to be steadfast upon religion. You want to be steadfast upon sunnah. You want to be steadfast upon salah and all of these. You want to attend madrasa. You want to go for umrah. You want to go for hajj. You want to do good deeds. You want to do sadaqah. Lam yu'inka. He will not encourage you to do it. It says, ta'awwaz billahi min mithlihi. Ask for Allah's refuge away from this kind of friend. That is to say, don't be a friend to that kind of a person. In zakarta, lam yu'inka. When you become conscious of your duties towards Allah, lam yu'inka, He will not help you. He will not encourage you. Wa inna fika lam yuzakkirka. When you become forgetful of the rights of Allah as a human being who forgets, when you fall into error out of mistake, He knows, He remembers, He did not forget. Lam yuzakkirka. He will not give you anything from the words of remembrance. He will not remind you. He will not wake you up to consciousness. Avoid these kinds of friends. A friend who, when you are upon consciousness, will not encourage you. And when you are upon forgetfulness, he does not remind you. This shows that Islam wants us to be conscious of who we have as a friend. Study your dealings with the persons you refer to as your friends, those you refer to as your companions. Study your dealings. If he or she is such a person who, when you become conscious, oh, let's fast Mondays and Thursdays, Dhul-Hijjah is coming, let's fast the first 9 days of Dhul-Hijjah, lam yu'inka. He will not encourage you. He will, in fact, discourage you and say, oh, why do you want to fast? Oh, why do we want to suspend this kind of a money upon the path of Allah? We could do business with this money instead of investing it in the path of Allah. Instead of giving sadaqah, we could invest it. Lam yu'inka. This kind of a friend who will not help you upon righteousness. Avoid it. Ask for Allah's refuge against that kind of a friend. And wa inna sita, when you forget, lam yuzakirka. He will not give you any word of remember. You should know if you have a friend like this that you don't have a friend. You have an enemy that deserves that you beg Allah to protect you away from him. This was where we stopped the class in the last week. Today, inshallah, we will be reading Hadith 139. But the point of reference in the last Hadith we read was that the first advice, Kun lil yatim al-Abdur-Raūf. You should be the compassionate father. You should be like the way the compassionate father relates with his children. The way the compassionate mother deals with her children. That is the way you should relate with the orphans. Perhaps the mother was not mentioned because the mother is naturally compassionate with her child. Those whose compassion is required deserve remembrance are perhaps the fathers. To be the compassionate father, the way the compassionate father would relate with his children, that is the way you should relate with the orphans. In Hadith 139, Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri says, حدثنا موسى قال حدثنا حمزة بن نجيح أبو عمار قال سمعت الحسن يقول لقد عهدت المسلمين وإن الرجل منهم ليصبح فيقول يا أهليه يا أهليه يتيمكم يتيمكم يا أهليه يا أهليه مسكينكم مسكينكم يا أهليه يا أهليه جاركم جاركم وأسرع بخياركم وأنتم كل يوم ترذلون وسمعته يقول وإذا شئت رأيته فاسقا يتعمق ب30,000 إلى النار ما له قاتله الله ضاعف خلاقه من الله بثمن عمره وإن شئت رأيته مضيئا مربدا في سبيل الشيطان لا واعظ له من نفسه ولا من الناس. Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri reported this from his Shaykh Musa. This Imam Musa, he is Musa ibn Ismāīl At-Tibyān. We have repeatedly read a hadith from him. He is Musa ibn Ismāīl At-Tibyān, rahimahullah. He has reported from Hamza ibn Najih Abu Umara. Abu Umara is the weak reporter in this isnad. So he said, Imam Musa ibn Ismāīl said, حدثنا Hamza ibn Najih Abu Umara. He said, سميت الحسن. And Al-Hasan in this hadith is Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri, rahimahullah. We read a number of narrations from Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri. He was from amongst the Tabi'un. Al-Hasan Al-Basri was from amongst the Tabi'un. He was reported to have grown up inside the household of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam after the Prophet passed away. His mother was said to have been a servant in that house. So when he gave birth to him, she lived with him in that household of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. That is Abu Al-Imam Hasan Al-Basri rahimahullah. He's a well-known scholar of hadith. There are ahadith, there are athar that are authentically reported from him that he met about 70 companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Imam Hasan al-Basri. So he said, and he's from amongst the scholars of Sunnah and Fiqh. He was also from the scholars of Qira'at, even though most of his Qira'at are referred to be Shazza, but he is known with Qira'at al-Quran. Rahimahullah al-Hasan al-Basri. He said, لَقَدْ عَهِدْتُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ لَقَدْ عَهِدْتُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ I have lived with the Muslims. You know, because he grew up inside the household of the Messenger. And then he lived at a time when many of the companions, he was a young boy when many of the companions were still alive. Al-Hasan al-Basri was a young boy when many of the companions were still alive. So what he is talking about now is describing a situation between two times. One time when he was younger than he was, at another time he had been a grown-up person. So these are two eras. The era when he was younger and most of the people who were alive were companions, radiallahu anhum, and the other time when he had grown older, Islam had expanded. Many good, bad, and the ugly had accepted Islam. So now he wants to tell us the difference between these two periods. Rahimahullah. He says, لَقَدْ عَهِدْتُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ I have stayed an ahad. I have stayed a time. I have stayed a period with the Muslims. I have lived in a time of the Muslims. وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ مِنْهُمْ لَيُصْبِحُ فَيَقُولُ A man at that time, one time, he lived in a time of the Muslims. One man amongst them, لَيُصْبِحُ فَيَقُولُ He will wake up in the morning and then he will begin to say, يَا أَهْلِيَةَ يَا أَهْلِيَةَ يَتِيمَكُمْ يَتِيمَكُمْ يَا أَهْلِيَةَ يَا أَهْلِيَةَ يَتِيمَكُمْ يَتِيمَكُمْ In some riwayat it says that he will say يَا أَهْلَا يَا أَهْلَا meaning, oh my ahl, oh my ahl, oh my family, oh my household, my wife, my children, Ya ahliya, oh family, oh household, my home. He would say that. And then he would say, Yatimakum, Yatimakum, your orphans, as if to say, Yani birru, take care of your orphans, be nice to your orphans. At'imu yatimakum, feed your orphans. Waqdimuhum, care for your orphans. Pay attention to your orphans. He said, I lived in a time when a man woke up in the morning. Of course, that is the kind of reminder he will give to his family. Ya ahliya, oh my family, oh my household, yatimakum, yatimakum. As if to say, asqimu yatimakum, feed your orphans. Don't forget the orphans. Take care of the orphans. A man would shout like that in the morning when he woke up at home. And then he would also say, Ya ahliya, Ya ahliya, miskinakum, miskinakum. Oh my family, the poor ones, the needy ones. As if to say, don't forget the poor ones. Don't forget the needy ones. Imagine that a man wakes up in the morning and begins to remind his wife, don't forget the food of the orphans. Don't forget the food of those poor ones. He pays attention to them. These are things that we are far away from in our old times now. In the old times, Al-Hasan al-Basri said when a man woke up, he would be shouting inside the house. He would remind his family, hey, my wife, my children, don't forget the orphans. Don't forget the orphans. Don't forget the poor ones. Don't forget the poor ones. Al-Hasan al-Basri said, I lived in that time. I was alive in that time. The third thing they would say, Ya ahliya, Ya ahliya, Jarakum, Jarakum. Oh my family, oh my home. Don't forget the neighbors. Don't forget the neighbors, your neighbors, your neighbors. Three things. Yatimakum, yatimakum. Your orphans, your orphans. The second one. Miskinakum, miskinakum. The poor ones, the needy, Don't forget the needy. The third thing, Jarakum, Jarakum, your neighbors, don't forget them, care for them, pay attention to them, don't forget them about the food, don't forget them about the water we have, don't forget to visit them, don't forget to pay attention to them. In the early times, Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri said, this was how when Imam wakes up in the morning, he begins to tell his family about the orphans, about the needy, and about the neighbors. He said, Rahimahullah, وَأُسْرِعَ بِخِيَارِكُمْ. Then it happened that أُسْرِعَ بِخِيَارِكُمْ, the best amongst you, أُسْرِعُ, they began to be quickly taken away. بِخِيَارِكُمْ, the best amongst you, the most righteous amongst you began to quickly die. So the companions passed away. The elderly ones amongst the companions passed away. The younger ones passed away. And then the likes of the elderly ones amongst the Tabi'un, they passed away too. The best of you began to pass away. وَأَنْتُمْ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ تَرْزُلُونَ. And then you people, daily you begin to go down. You begin to become lower and lower in your righteousness. تَرْزُلُونَ. You begin to come down gradually. The best of you began to be taken away, and then you begin to come down. You began to reduce in your righteousness. May Allah protect all of us. If Hassan al-Basri was alive today, what would he say? He witnessed the times of the companions when the people would remind themselves about Yatim, the orphans, when the people would remind themselves about Masakin, the poor and the needy, when the people would remind themselves about their neighbors. And then he began to despise the people who followed in that time. Look, the righteous ones went away so quickly. And then you people began to come down. He began to descend. In the continuation of the speech, he said, Rahimahullah, وَإِذَا شِئْتَ رَأَيْتَهُ فَاسِقًا. If you like, you can see some of them as they began to come down. رَأَيْتَهُ فَاسِقًا. You find him becoming very sinful, very disobedient to Allah. يَتَعَمَّكُ بِثَلَاثِينَ أَلْفًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. يَتَعَمَّكُ. He begins to go deeper in the fire. بِثَلَاثِينَ. He does not go alone. He begins to act the deeds of the people of the fire. But he will not do alone. He will not go alone. بِثَلَاثِينَ أَلْفًا. He carries along about 30,000 people with himself deep in the fire. Meaning that he becomes a head upon disobedience to Allah. You find an individual in our own time. Was it not in the time of Al-Hasan al-Basri that the people of I'tizal started their firqa, the Mu'tazila? The I'tizal, Ahl al-I'tizal, they made I'tizal during the time of Al-Hasan al-Basri. And we will not forget that it was actually in the halqa of Al-Hasan al-Basri that the I'tizal started. Waqil ibn Ata al-Ghazal started I'tizal in the halqa of Hasan al-Basri. When he was asked regarding the mu'min, when he was asked regarding the one who had believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he commits sins, does he committing major sins, kabira min al-kabair, does that make a mu'min to become a kafir? If a Muslim commits a major sin, a mu'min, one who believes in Allah, for example, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he commits zina, may Allah protect us. Does this make him a kafir? The Khawarij says it makes him a kafir. They make takfir upon major sins. On the other hand, we have the people of Irja, the Murji'ah. They say no matter the major sin the individual commits, it does not reduce or increase him in his iman in any way, since he had iman. So when he drinks alcohol, it is the same thing with the one who had iman who has not drunk alcohol. That sins do not affect the level of iman of the individual. This is another extreme. This question was asked Al-Hasan al-Basri in his halqa. And as the Imam waited to provide an answer, one of the students in the halqa shouted, Al-Manzilatu bayna manzilatayn. That was Wasil ibn Ata al-Ghazal. He started saying al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn. The Khawarij say if a person commits a major sin, he becomes a disbeliever. Who will remain in the fire forever. The Murji'a say if a person commits a major sin, well, there is no point, it does not affect his iman in any way. Wasil ibn Ata al-Ghazal says he is not a believer and he is not a mu'min. So they say, what will he be? They say he be in al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn. He will occupy a status in between two status. One place in between two places. That was when this innovation of al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn, which was the first thing in the aqidah of the Mu'tazila, this was when it started. So Wasil ibn Ata al-Ghazal, he stood up for the halqa from the front of Hasan al-Basri and went away. He went away and took a portion in the masjid. Some of the people followed Wasil ibn Ata al-Ghazal. So this was the kind of situation that Hasan al-Basri witnessed after the times of the companions. So if you so desire, you can see one person being a Ba'afik. He will go with 30,000 others. He will be the head of evil. And many others will follow him upon the evil. May Allah protect us. Ilanna, into the fire. Malahu, what does he gain? What's wrong with him? What benefit does that bring to him? Qatalahullah. May Allah destroy him. May Allah fight him. May Allah go against him. May Allah throw him away from his mercy. Qatalahullah. So this kind of a person who will be disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that he will be a head upon misguidance. It's unfortunate that a person would be like that. Hasan al-Basri said, we had witnessed a time when people were so righteous. They reminded themselves about offers. They reminded themselves about masakin. They reminded themselves about duties to their neighbors. And then these righteous people began to be taken away one after the other. They began to die and pass away. And then it remained a group of people who, instead of improving upon righteousness and following upon the path of those who passed away, they began to come down. One of them, you may find him being the head upon disobedience. He will be going deep and deep in the fire together with who? About 20,000 others. Meaning, he will be going upon misguidance, not alone, but with the rest of the people. So Al-Hasan al-Basri hated that kind of a person. Unfortunately, people like that started to become common in that time. People started to have heads upon innovations during this time, and so the common phenomena. Many of the Firaqud came up around this time when Al-Hasan al-Basri spoke about Rahimahullah. Part of what this man who became a head upon misguidance, part of what you find him with is that باع خلقه من الله بثمن أو بالثمن عنه. باع خلقه من الله. He will sell out. He will give out his portion with Allah, his status, his place with Allah. He will give it out. He will sell it out. بثمن عنه. An is the sheep. He will sell it out for the price of a sheep, meaning that he will sell out his status with Allah for the meanest price, for the lowest price. Meaning that he will give us his religion to take any worldly thing, any small worldly amount, worldly money, he will give out his religion. Many of the people are like that in our own time. The heads of misguidance, many of the people are like that in our own times. How many young boys, even when they bear the name of Muslims, have become heads upon misguidance? It's very, very common today. How many of the people would you see that perhaps their parents were people who were known with some sort of a righteousness? They became children who, when you hear about them, you seek refuge in Allah from their kinds, and they became heads upon misguidance. They will raise and smoke out misguidance, leaving very many others upon misguidance. So these are people of disobedience to Allah. باع خلاقه من الله بثمن عنز. They will sell out their status, they will sell out their portion with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the meanest of prices. They are attracted away from Iman with the slightest things. وَإِنْ شِئْتَ رَأَيْتَهُ مُضَيِّعًا مُرِيدًا فِي سَبِيلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. وَإِنْ شِئْتَ, if you like, you can also find this man مُضَيِّعًا, wasting away, مُضَيِّعًا, wasting away himself, wasting away his time, wasting away his good deeds. You hardly find him upon goodness. مُرِيدًا فِي سَبِيلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. All that he desires is getting himself upon the path of Shaitan. All that he desires is getting himself upon the path of Shaitan. In some of the nusakh, you will find that it says murbaddan. Yani yataghayyaru. He will be bringing different kinds of options, different kinds of ways of misguidance upon the path of Shaitan. لا واعظ له من نفسه ولا من الناس وإن شئت رأيته مضيعا. If you like, you can find this same man, this head upon misguidance. مضيعا. He will waste away righteous deeds. He will find him upon the life of wastage. He gives no respect to righteous deeds. مربدا في سبيل الشيطان يعني يتغير في سبيل. You see him upon the path of Shaitan. He will be bringing them in different forms. In some nusakh it says muridan instead of murbadan. They are both mentioned in this chapter and have been reported from the various copies of Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. So muridan fi sabil al-shaytan. You see him desirous upon the path of Shaitan. لا واعظ له من نفسه ولا من الناس. He has nothing from inside himself that will reproach him. He has no consciousness for reproach. لا واعظ له من نفسه. He has nothing from within himself that will call him to order, that will reproach him, that will correct him, that will admonish him. You know, sometimes when someone commits a mistake, an error, a sin, an act of disobedience to Allah, something from inside you begins to say to you that you have done something wrong. Why should you have done this? So the individual who has this kind of an ability from the favors of Allah, he has a consciousness in the mind that will reproach him. It will tell him what you have done is wrong. Don't do this again. Why should you have done that? This is why you don't mean that. But this kind of a head upon misguidance, he does not have. It says, La wa'iza lahu min nafsi. He does not have anything from inside his mind that will tell him to do good, that will reproach him whenever he commits a sin. Wala min an-nas. Neither does he have anybody around him amongst the people who will tell him, oh my brother, what you have done is bad, stop it. Why? He surrounded himself with the people of disobedience. May Allah protect us from this. The point of reference in this aspect is that Hassan Basri said that he had lived in a time when the people, when they woke up in the morning, they would be saying, Ya Ahla, oh my family, Yatimakum, Yatimakum, your orphans, your orphans. So if it was a common thing inside the household, that the husband will always remember the entire household. He will remind them, orphans, take care of the orphans. Take care of your orphans. Ya ahliya, oh my family. Masad, miskinakum, miskinakum. Your poor ones, your needy ones. Ya ahliya, jarakum, your neighbors. This is what a man will say in his house regularly. This shows that these people were upon consciousness regarding the rights of Allah about the orphans. They were conscious about the rights of Allah regarding the poor and the needy. They were conscious about the rights of Allah regarding the jar, the neighbors. They were conscious about all these facts. But the situation turned out that we began to have the pious people taken away. and people hardly remember anything to say regarding the orphans, regarding the needy and the poor, or even regarding the neighbor. How about in our own times? If not that we are reading this kind of a book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, I don't think in the last 10 years I have attended a lecture where the discussion were about orphans or mothers who have lost the means of support, widows and abandoned women. I don't think there has been anywhere Muslims upon Sunnah and Salafiyah where we sat down and the concern in that gathering was about, how do we take care of orphans? How do we take care of widows? How do we take care of women who have been abandoned in the society? Are we discussing that? And that's a symbol that righteousness is small amongst us in these times. From the symbols that righteousness and piety are scarce in our times now is that we hardly discuss the Aitam, we hardly discuss Masakin, we hardly talk about women who have been abandoned, the widows. I mean, if not that we are discussing the individual, I have not attended a program in the last 10 years where the discussion has to be about orphans and Masakin, the poor and the needy. Even if you take out the issues of the poor and the needy, one brother needs something, let's contribute money. Or one sister needs something, let's bring her money. Or one person was sick, let's gather money and provide them. If not like this, a gathering where how to relate with the poor, how to relate with the needy and provide their needs. A gathering where orphans and widows are paid attention, given attention. A gathering where women who have been cut off from support, who have been abandoned by society, are discussed. I don't think I have witnessed that kind of a discussion anywhere amongst we Muslims in the last 10 years. And this is from the full package of our deen. We say Islam addresses anybody and pays attention to everybody. As individuals, what are our roles regarding our orphans? And what are our roles regarding our poor ones? Is it that once our own children have fed and have attended the best of schools in England and wherever we want to send them to, it's all over? Allah will not ask us about these people. May Allah forgive us from these acts of being far away from what is right. It is not appropriate for us to leave aside the yatim or the aitam or the yatama and the masakin and the women who have been abandoned in the society, who have been cut off from support in the society. So from the aspects of being the compassionate father to an orphan is that the early Muslims used to announce inside their house, yatimakum, yatimakum. The point of reference is that they regularly reminded the house about yatim, care for your poor ones. Miskin, care for your orphans. Yatim, care for your yatim, care for your masakin, care for your jar. As for us, we are sufficient with our homes and our fences. May Allah protect us and forgive His shortcomings. The next hadith we shall read in this chapter is hadith number 140, and it's also an author from a tabi'i. One of the differences between, we repeatedly say, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad and Kitab Al-Adab in Sahih Al-Bukhāri is that Al-Adab Al-Mufrad has the statements from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his actions and approvals, the sunnah from him alayhi salatu wasalam that we refer to as marfu'at. It also has what we refer to as mawqufat, the statements from companions. That author from Abdur-Raūf ibn Abdah, that kun lil yatim al-Abdur-Rahim, was a statement that is mawquf. And here we are with an author from Al-Hasan al-Basri that we just read, that is referred to as hadithun maqtu' or asarun maqtu'. This is from the aspects of the maqtu'at. That is the narrations that are cut off with the tabi'un. This is also the hadith which I read, hadith 140 is also hadithun maqtu'un. How? Because it is cut off from the tabi'. It ends with the tabi'. When a hadith ends or an athar ends with the tabi', It is referred to as what? Maqtu', from the statement of that tabi'i or from his actions. And Imam Al-Bukhāri has also reported this again from Shaykh Musa ibn Ismāīl At-Tibyān rahimahullah. And here it says, حدثنا موسى قال حدثنا سلام ابن أبي مطيع حدثنا سلام ابن أبي مطيع عن أسماء ابن عبيد قال قلت لابن سيرين عندي يتيم قال اصنع به كما تصنع بولدك اضربه ما تضرب ولدك قال اصنع به ما تصنع بولدك اضربه ما تضرب ولدك. Musa ibn Ismāīl At-Tibyān reported from his Shaykh Salam ibn Abi Mutī', who reports from Asma ibn Ubayd. We can see from this Asma ibn Ubayd that Asma, that name, is from amongst the names that both males and females have borne in Islam. Asma'u is a name, we know Asma'u bintu Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So here we have Asma'u ibn Ubayd. He is a male and is from amongst the Atba'u Tabi'in, from amongst the students of Muhammad ibn Sirin. He is the one who went to Muhammad ibn Sirin. Asma'u ibn Ubayd is Abu al-Mufaddal al-Dab'i. Asma'u ibn Ubayd is Abu al-Mufaddal al-Dab'i, rahimahullah, is from amongst the Atba'u Tabi'in. He said, Kuntu ibn Sirin. He said, I said to Ibn Sirin. We know Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Sirin is from amongst the Tabi'un, is from amongst the Fuqaha of Islam, is from amongst the scholars of Hadith and the scholars of Sunnah, rahimahumullah. He said to Ibn Sirin, Indi yatim. Asma said to Ibn Sirin, Indi yatimun. I have a yatim with me. So it's by way of they are paying attention to al-yatama. Otherwise, we will not go to Muhammad ibn Sirin to start asking him, how do I relate with my yatim that I have with me? I have a yatim. I have an orphan who stays with me. I have an orphan that I care for. How do I handle that orphan? And Ibn Sirin said to him, Isna' bihi ma tasna'u bi waladik. Isna' bihi, relate with him, ma tasna'u bi waladika, the way you relate with your child, the way you relate with your son, the way you relate with your daughter. Isna' bihi ma tasna'u bi waladika, meaning to say that kun kal-Abdur-Raūf, be like that compassionate father. As you are compassionate with your son, be compassionate with that yatim. As you are compassionate and kind towards your daughter, be compassionate and kind towards the yatim. Don't say, this one is okay for you. And then your children, your own daughters, your own sons enjoy all the comfort and luxury. But you will think that, of course, because you are a yatim, you should manage this one. The yatim should manage this one. But your daughters and sons should have it all. This is not some compassion. That's compassion, that's love, that's favor. That's the same favor you show to your children. Show that same similar thing to the yatim. Kum lil yatim kal Abdur-Raūf. So when this Tabi'i Asma'u ibn Ubayd Abu al-Mufaddal al-Dab'i, when he went to Muhammad ibn Sirin, rahimahullah, he said, Indi yatim, I have an orphan with him. I seek to ask him, how do I relate with that orphan? And Muhammad ibn Sirin said, Isna' bihi ma tasna'u bi waladika. Relate with him. Do to him what you do to your sons, to your children. As you show your children compassion, show the yatim compassion. The way you show your children compassion. The same way, show the yatim compassion. The way you show mercy to your children. Show that same mercy to the orphan. The same way you relate with your children. Don't make a difference. So this is yatim. You are yatim. So you must manage it. Don't behave as if you have this house. No compassionate person who wants the rewards of kafirul yatim will behave like that. No person who wants the reward of the guardian of an orphan will behave like this. Hey, you are an orphan, and you must recognize this fact. You are a stranger in this house. No person who wants all these rewards that we have mentioned regarding yatim will behave like this. When you behave like this, you should know that you need to reverse your steps. You need to go back up on the path of Tawbah, shouting upon the yatim that he is a yatim. And he needs to understand that he is yatim. Some women will be saying, that boy or that girl does not know that he or she is a stranger in this house. I'm going to show him that he is a stranger in this house. My children, my daughters, and my sons are the owners of this house. Don't be this kind of a mother. Be to the orphan the way a compassionate father is to your son. If you are a compassionate father truly, the way you are merciful to your son, show that same mercy to that orphan. The way you behave with your children, behave like that to the orphan. So that was what Muhammad ibn Sirin advised Asmāīl ibn Ubayd, rahimahullah. He said to him, Isna' bihi ma tasna'u bi waladika. Do to him what you do to your son. Do to him what you do with your daughter. And then he went on to explain, Idribhu ma tadribu waladak. Cane him. Cane. C-A-N. Cane the yatim. If he needs to be caned. Kama tadribu waladak. The way you cane your children. Cane him the way you cane your children. Be kind to him as you are kind to your children. And when the situation deserves that he is disciplined, of course, the ulama say this will come after all other measures have proven fertile. When all other things, so jihad, advice, caution, kindness, showing gifts, explaining, all of these things have not worked. Cane him at that time. Cane him. So a dribble. Give him birth. Beat him. Let's use that word. Beat him. Beat the yatim. If you need to beat the yatim. Kama tadrib waladak. But don't forget, that same compassion with which you beat your son, that is the compassion with which you should beat the yatim. If you need to beat him, handle him. The way you are nice with your child, be nice to the yatim. If the situation requires discipline, discipline the yatim the way you discipline your children. When you discipline your children, it involves a lot of compassion. This means that it is wrong for us as parents, when we even beat and flog or cane our children, that we become without compassion, that we become unkind, that we become wicked. So mothers will say, that she's dealing with her son. She's saying, I will kill you today, I will beat you to death today, I will do this today. Don't do that to your children. When you beat them upon compassion. When you beat your children, beat them upon compassion. When you cane them upon compassion. When you discipline them upon compassion. That kind of disciplining is the kind of discipline that you should also give to the yatim. If the yatim has to be disciplined, just the way you discipline your child, discipline him like that. The way you are compassionate with your child, do like that to the yatim. The way you have to discipline your child, discipline the yatim to be like that. This makes us understand, and we'd like to stop here, that there is a major issue here about flogging children. Bismillah, we will address that issue in our next class tomorrow. Because this shows that the Tabi'i, Muhammad ibn Sirin, has that view that we, as parents, we may need to flog our children. And many of the scholars have said so before. Because we have narrations from the companions. Abdullah ibn Umar used to flog his children if they made laham in Arabiya. It's in this book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. If the children of Abdullah ibn Umar spoke Arabic and ate, he flogged them. That a companion flogging his children was by way of making them be sure that when they spoke, they never heard. So it's the beating of ta'lim and ta'deed. It's the beating of teaching that child and nurturing and educating the child. Ibn Umar will do that. There are reports from others amongst the companions, and there are ahadith from the Prophet Muhammad that show that a father may need to flog the child. Allah will address this issue tomorrow. Don't forget that the yatim is someone who has not matured. So don't say until the boy is 10 years old. Even when the boy is 8 years old, he's still yatim and he could have been flogged. There is this after we shall read again after number 142 from Aisha. She said, I used to beat my yatim. After I am office, I will beat him until he will lie flat. I will beat him flat. I will beat him soft. Aisha, she said so. It's here in this book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. So it means that the yatims may need to be disciplined, just like our children may need to be disciplined. Don't be a father who will say, me, I can never flog my child. Mr. Oga, your child may need to be flogged. If you need to, please do it, but do it within the limits of the Sharia. One of the scholars has given 18 conditions that we must fulfill. 18 things we must note if you now need to beat your child. 18 things. Bismillah will mention some of them in our next class tomorrow about handling how we beat children. So that you don't say, oh, we learned at the class on Al-Adab Al-Mufrad that we should beat children. It has dawabit. It has guidelines if you have to. If you're dealing with the child, boy or girl, whether your teen or your own child, now have to do it. I have to beat this boy. I have to go beyond merely frowning. I have to go beyond merely cutting off this boy for some time. Now I have to show some discipline using the cane. What are those things in the Sharia that guides this kind of a behavior from a father to the child or from the father to the yatim that is under him? Inshallah, we'll come back to that in the next class because it is necessary so that we are properly guided about the manner regarding caning children. But here, the point of reference is that Imām Muhammad ibn Sirin was asked about how do I relate with yatim? And he advised, rahimahullah, he said, Isna bihi ma taqna waladika. Do to the yatim what you do to your son. وَضْرِبْهُ مَا تَضْرِبُ وَلَدَكَ. You can then also beat the yatim just in the same manner you beat your child. As you beat or cane your child upon compassion and mercy, that is the way you can beat and cane a yatim upon compassion and mercy when the situation deserves that. So how do you handle that? Inshallah, we'll discuss that in our next class. I think because of time, we can take the few questions we have for today. Abu Yusuf. Ameen wa antum jazakumullahu khair. Ameen.
Now, this one says on Hadith 139, Shaykh noted that Hamza bin Nudeh bin Umar Abu Umara is a weak link in its isnad. Could the Shaykh please clarify if it has any general effect on the Hadith?
Well, that is one way of making us understand that the Hadith is weak. That is one clear way of saying that the Hadith is weak. There are about 3 ways to say a Hadith is weak. The first way is to employ what they refer to as figure to tamrid, an expression to show that it is weak. Like saying, Ruwiya and Ali, Ruwiya and Umar. It was reported from Umar. It was reported from Ali. When you hear that it was reported from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ruwiya and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ruwiya, this statement implies that what is to come after it is weak. That is one way. The second way the scholars of Hadith do that is they just give you the isnad. They expect that before you read this book, you already know the conditions of these people in their asanid. Your level of knowledge is qualified. You are qualified to read Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. So when you see Hamza ibn Najih Abu Umara, your knowledge should be deep enough to know that it's a weak report of Hadith. That is the second way they do that. The third way they do that is to read the asanid and then come back to specifically mention that this so and so reporter is weak, or that this afar is weak. So I have done that today already in two ways. The first way is I read this natural. The second way is I think I mentioned, I hope that I did, but I think I mentioned that Hamza ibn Najih is a weak reporter of hadith, and he is the weak person in the isnad of this hadith. Now a hadith may be weak, but the message in it may be right. The isnad may be weak, but the message in it may be right. For example, that the early Muslims paid good attention to yatim and reminded their household about yatama. We have come across that kind of a message in many of what we have read. That affair of Rahman ibn Abza shows that the companions paid attention to yatim. The next hadith of Muhammad ibn Sirin in 140, when he went to ask Muhammad ibn Sirin, look, I have yatim, how do I handle my yatim? That's evidence that they paid attention to al-yatama. We had also read from Abdullah ibn Umar, he will not partake, he will not eat the food unless he invited a yatim or miskin to his table. Nāsir also said that regarding Ibn Umar. So that was evidence that message that they reminded themselves and their household about yatama implies that they paid attention to al-yatama, they paid attention to masakin, they paid attention to jar. So that is the message that seeks to convey. And that after the times of the life of Al-Hasan al-Basri, or during the later times of Al-Hasan al-Basri, people began to become so unrighteous. You find people so far away from guidance. And they had a lot of people who were heads from misguidance. For example, it was even after Al-Ghazal, who was the originator of what we now know as Al-Mu'tazila today. So the message in this affair, despite the fact that the Islam has that weakness that we have mentioned, the message in it is sound and can be proven from all other sources that I try to point out now and during the class. I hope that is clear. In a single word, that after that is not just brief, but the message in it is right and can be proven from other sources. That's how you will find most of the asar in this book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. As few as they are, most of them that Imām Al-Bukhāri has mentioned in this book, the asar, especially those from the companions and the Tibyān, if they are weak, you find that one, the weakness is light, and that the message in it can be proven from many other ahadith and verses of the Quran. I hope that is clear, inshallah. I mean, one.
This one says, does relating with children and orphans also include the way we relate with ourselves? Some people think that they say,
we will come back to those who are our servants at home. We are coming back to narrations regarding them. We are coming back to narrations regarding those who are our servants at home, who work either as slaves or that we employ to do a work for us at home. But in all of that, we must be kind to the people, generally speaking, whether they are yatim, whether they are our children, whether they are our slaves, whether they are our servants, whether they are our base. Our relationships with them should be of kindness and goodness. Inshallah, we'll come back to all of these reports. After the discussions about Al-Yatama, we'll be coming to discussions about women who have their children passed away. We have discussed women who have their husbands passed away, widows, hadith. We have also discussed orphans. And I think the next two chapters we shall read tomorrow, inshallah, will be the last two chapters regarding the orphans. The next discussion will be about a woman who has her children passed away, whether as while they were still in the womb before delivery, or even after delivery. When a woman has a child dying, what does Islam say regarding the rewards for those kinds of women who are patient with that kind of a situation? So after that, after the women and their children passing away, may Allah appease the women and provide something better for those women who have their children passed away. About 4 months ago, here where we live, a brother lost 2 of his children in 1 month. In 2 weeks, one died this week, the other one died in another week. Just one of the brothers. They are both sickle cell. I think I should mention sickle cell patients. One passed away this week, the other one the other week. And they are both from a woman, from one of his wives. So things like this happen. Things like this have happened to the bigger ones amongst the ulama. Something like this happened to Hafiz Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, the author of Fath al-Bari. He had his daughter pass away too. The one who passed away last, first of all, had ikhtilalu al-Zayn. Her brain first of all turned before she passed away. One of the children of Ibn Hajar, all his daughters passed away. And he only had a son. All his daughters passed away. Ibn Hajar. But don't forget, Inna Allah iza ahabba al-abda ibtalahu. When Allah loves his slave, he tries him. When Allah loves his slave, he tries him. He was only left behind with one son, Abdullah. But the fact that he left one son, Abdullah, we have not forgotten Ibn Hajar till today. So whether you have 100 children, it does not mean that your mentioning will be sustained. Your own good deeds will sustain you by Allah's will. So do good so that Allah will sustain you. So this was Ibn Hajar. I'm just trying to say that people have had these kinds of trials. And we'll read about them, inshallah, after the readings about orphans. So, immediately after the readings about those people, we'll be reading about our servants and our maids. I'm just trying to tell us the kinds of things that we have, bismillah, in the future classes that we shall partake in this book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad by Imām Al-Bukhāri. These are discussions that are hardly taken as lecture topics in our various lectures. If you want to see people do Ramadan talk, that Ramadan talk will not be about orphans. It will not be about widows. It will not be about the poor in the society. It's always about one, economic development, how to create money, how to invest business, how about these other people in the society? From that little one that you want to invest, have you forgotten investment in orphans and masakin? You've forgotten that one. You are thinking about how to multiply your wealth when someone doesn't even have anything to live upon. So this is the way we have become now as Muslims. Our concerns are just ourselves, our wives, our 3-4 children, and then the rest is our friends. The rest of the world is first off. And then we begin to say a lot of good things about ourselves, thinking that we have achieved. May Allah protect us. Bismillah, we'll come back to this discussion in the next class tomorrow. Abu Yusuf, can we stop here? آمين وأنتم فجزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.